Hello and welcome. You're in to Mickey and Miller's Cowboys Hour. We are so glad that you can join us. We know we have people joining us from literally around the world. I am Gina Miller along with Mickey Spagnola, who's out of breath because he just got a peek of the Cowboys working out at OTAs. What can you tell us?
And they were about, I'm guessing, 200 yards away. So
we can't tell you anything.
My failing eyesight. Let's see, because I could tell who was sort of out there, and you know, they're at their walkthrough right now. So the good thing about the walkthrough is the guys that are projected to be like on the starting defensive line, but have been held out of contact because they had off-season surgeries. So during the walkthrough, they're out there, and so you can see it looks a little bit better than when you see Selvey, Crawford, Melton, and Lawrence or Mincy out there as your front four, because when they go to the regular drills, those guys don't participate. So when you're sitting there watching 11 on 11, you're going, oh my goodness, this looks like last year.
Right.
But when you see the walkthrough on how they're projected to go, it might make you feel just a little bit better about that defensive line.
Cowboys are working out as we speak. We are working here live from the Dallas Cowboys TV studio for the next hour until 12 o'clock Central Time. This is the most interactive Cowboys Hour online. Mickey and Miller's Cowboys Hour. I'm Gina Miller along with Mickey Spagnola. You can join the conversation as well. You'll see right down below the Google Q&A app. Submit your question. We will select it and answer it live here on the air. We're also taking your questions on Twitter. Mickey's at Spags52.
And Gina's been tweeting last night and this morning to give you guys a fair warning that we're going to do this today.
Is it over-tweeting?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I think it's good to let it know and then remind people because they're busy. It's 11 o'clock in the morning.
So you mean people don't?
They ought to be working.
Yeah, they should be. And I'll tell you.
Don't do it.
But you can put your headphones
That's
in
right.
and you can listen and nobody will know. They'll think that you're working, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you don't have to put us on the screen. You just listen to us.
Just listen in.
Although you want to put Gina on the screen and at least see her.
Hardly. Now, I know we have some people from the UK watching. Hello to the Cowboys UK fan club. Also, just on Tuesday, a member of the Cowboys fan club in France followed me on Twitter. We're worldwide, Mickey.
All right.
I love this.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Ça va? Ça va. Merci. So here's what's coming up in our hour. We are still talking about what the Cowboys are going to do at the middle linebacker position. Is Brian Irocker now a candidate to join the Dallas Cowboys? We'll get into that. We'll also discuss the Cowboys defense. You know, what's going to happen now that, you know, Rod Marinelli is going to be in charge of this group? Will the defensive line be in a better position to be successful this year? Also, what do you think about the new Super Bowl 50 logo? Now, we know that logos may not be that big of a deal to people, but this one is a departure from something that the NFL has done going all the way back to 1971. We'll explain why this is kind of a big deal in the NFL world. And we have the Cowboys training camp schedule. We'll give you some tips and tricks on winning your trip to Oxnard if you plan on seeing the Cowboys out on the West Coast. And I can say this with authority: if you get some time off and if you're a Cowboys fan and if you're even thinking about going to Oxnard, do it. Book a trip. I know you can get some cheap airfares, at least out of DFW.
You ought to be.
And it is absolutely an experience to have, because Cowboys camp is a chance to get up and see those players up close and personal. It's a chance to escape the summer heat in Texas.
And if you get tired of football practice, the Pacific Ocean is 5 miles away. That's all I got to say. Santa Barbara is a 30-minute drive. Ventura is a really neat town. And if you just have to get back in the hustle bustle, about an hour away, you get to L.A.
It's easy. It's a great family vacation, too. I can speak to this. My daughter's been to Cowboys camp twice. She'll be 3 in October, and she's been to training camp 2 years in a row.
She's already a veteran.
She is. It's so funny. We'll watch a football game or a Rangers game, which is on right now, obviously, or a Mavericks game, and she knows. She's like, go Mavs, go Rangers, and then she says, go Cowboys. And she understands a bad play. Because she'll hear mommy cuss if something happens.
You remind me of our former cohort on Talking Cowboys. Sonny Cranfield. She was a former Cowboys cheerleader, and she helped us on the show for 2 or 3 years. And we used to laugh because when they watched the game as a group, friends, whatever, they had a cuss jar there. And so she'd come in after a loss, funny. And it's like, well, how did the cuss jar do? She goes, it was overflowing.
The cuss jar was overflowing. Okay, let's dive into our discussion here on Mickey and Miller's Cowboys Hour. OTAs are continuing. We'll see OTAs for the 3rd straight week next week, and then mandatory minicamp
the week after that. And we're not shirking our duties. We only get an opportunity to watch one of the 3 practices, and so we've already had that on Monday. The Cowboys had their annual sponsors golf tournament on Tuesday. Practiced yesterday. The 3rd practice is this week, and then next week they have 3 practices. The first one on Tuesday. We'll get a chance to watch that, and then on Thursday. They have what's called Cowboys U. Jason Garrett basically kind of recreates in one day his camp that he normally does in New Jersey, and I believe it's this weekend. He's going back up there. But they bring in some high school kids here, and they teach them some skills, some techniques, and then they divide them up into teams, and the Cowboys players actually become the coaches, and they have a round-robin 7-on-7 tournament out there, and it gets pretty competitive.
It is.
And we get to watch that on Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be the OTAs, and then Thursday's Cowboy U.
And there's always a little bit of bragging rights and a little bit of trash talking among the Cowboys players turned coaches on that particular day. They like to win.
Right. Yeah. Oh, when we were at the golf tournament, we were sitting there. Brandon Carr had finished his, it was late in the afternoon, and Brandon Carr had finished his round, and he came over and we were talking, and he was talking, he goes, oh yeah, that's next week. He goes, I got to get my plays ready. And I said, what do you mean you got to get your plays ready? He goes, you know, I got beat last year. I think it was Romo. He had a double pass on me, and we got beat. He goes, that's not happening again. He goes, I'm going to have my own double pass this week.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, he was already fired up about starting to implement their plays.
So who was the best Cowboys golfer on Tuesday? Who had the winning team?
My guess, I don't know who had the winning team, but my guess is the best golfer was Brandon Weeden. It's always the quarterback, right?
Yeah. Okay,
as a matter of fact, they
yeah.
thought enough of him that I don't know if they had enough players available to play, that he was playing both rounds, morning and afternoon. Yeah, absolutely. So, and there was there were some of the veteran guys. I mean, Romo obviously is not going to go out there and play golf, so he would have been the best guy. But we were kidding Weeden about getting Romo out there. He goes, well, if I'm going to beat him, I need to get him right now.
Right, exactly. And we're going to talk about Brandon Weeden a little bit later in the show as well, because Mickey got the chance to speak with.
Yes.
We can't call him a young man.
No.
He's a more mature backup quarterback.
Man, yes.
Yeah, he is, and smart too. I like the way he sort of acquiesces and he knows his
understands
position.
It, right?
He does.
It's like when Bill Jones, and we'll get to it, but when, just to tease it, when Bill Jones and I finished interviewing for the Blitz that'll show, I guess, locally here Sunday night on CBS 11 after the news. I believe it's 11 o'clock if they're on time.
If they're on time.
We got done, and Bill turned to me, and he goes, you know, quarterbacks just kind of get it, don't they?
They do.
And I said, the good ones do.
The good ones.
And he gets it. He understood. He well-spoken. I think he's done some stuff with ESPN, as a matter of fact. And he understands the game. He understands the whole process, and we'll get into it. But yeah, you'll enjoy, if you get a chance to see the interview, it'll probably be also on DallasCowboys.com. You'll enjoy it.
Okay, let's talk about the thing that everybody wants to discuss. Who will replace Sean Lee at middle linebacker now that he has a torn knee ligament? Mickey, we talked about this at length last week.
And the week before.
Just how depressing it is that it happened to Sean Lee. Yet again, we're moving on from that because now the Cowboys have to figure out what is going to be their next case, their plan B, their worst case scenario, really. Their leader on defense is done for all of 2014. Devontae Holloman's been a name that's been thrown out there. Anthony Hitchens, the 4th round draft pick. How about Justin Durant, the guy the Cowboys picked up last season? Who is the primary candidate to be that middle linebacker? Well,
I think it's going to be between the 3 of them, and I don't know if we can say there's a front runner right now. If you think back to the first week of OTAs when Sean Lee first had his injury, the first guy that jumped in there and took a spot that week was Anthony Hitchens, but Justin Durant was nursing a little bit of a hamstring deal. Well, this week, Justin Durant was out there with taking the snaps with the first team, and he's a veteran guy. He's played in the league 7 years. He's played 89 games in the National Football League. Started 74 at either various linebacker positions. So at least he has some experience going for him. So right now it's Durant taking snaps with the first team. Second team is Anthony Hitchens. Holloman, early in the week when we got to watch the practice on Monday, he had a little slight sore hamstring, so they were holding him out of the team-type stuff and individual drills. So when he gets back, it'll be interesting to see if he might share snaps with Durant. They want to take a look at him in the middle. And, remember, he started the last 2 games of 2013 at middle linebacker when they had all the injuries. In that second game he started, and we're talking about a guy that, played the majority of his career South Carolina, Georgia. He was kind of a hybrid strong safety. Then they kind of moved him to linebacker. He got here, and they kind of worked him as a strong side linebacker. He had never really practiced in the middle, and all of a sudden the Cowboys had injuries to Lee, Durant, and Sims, and it was like, well, big boy, you're up next. Yeah. What are you gonna do? And so all of a sudden he found himself in the middle, and the second game he started, the final game of the year against Philadelphia, he had 11 tackles and 2 sacks, and was a pretty nice performance for a guy who didn't have much experience playing in the middle. So they're intrigued by his potential. Now, how quickly can he come around? You don't know, but it looks like what the Cowboys are going to do, Gina, is they're going to go through this week, next week, the mini camp, and then kind of reassess where they're at, kind of evaluate, okay, here's what these guys did. Do we go into training camp and continue to try to use these guys to replace Sean Lee, or is it time to go get a veteran linebacker? And I think they'll have to weigh that probably by the start of training camp.
I think that Justin Durant is intriguing because I like what he brings in terms of a veteran presence. I think, replacing Sean Lee with perhaps a younger player, I don't think that's a terrible thing, but I think there's value in putting a veteran in that position, because if you want to have a quarterback on defense, that middle linebacker, can't you say, is sort of that guy. And I personally would like a guy who's been there before doing it. And you can say, okay, Justin Durant played outside linebacker the majority of his career, but at least he's been in the game. Had a few more reps than those younger guys.
And you know what might happen is, well, it's by committee. You might have a running down middle linebacker, and then when you go to your nickel, you bring in somebody else that maybe drops back into coverage better. Let's face it, not only do you lose Sean Lee as your leader on the field, as a guy that was, gonna come close last year, maybe to setting the tackle record, but also it was the team's leading interceptor. The guy had 4 interceptions.
And a knack for the ball.
He led the team in interceptions. So that's something that you miss. So dropping into coverage is something that they also have to consider. So who knows? We'll see, how they fit this thing in. There's really, you mentioned, signing a veteran. There's not a lot of guys out there that get you all excited. I know Urlacher's name came up, then went down, and, and it's like it's a thought. But what scares me with those guys is you're bringing in a veteran, didn't play last year, and I don't care. You can say you work out. You don't work out like you would work out if you were preparing to play a season. And we saw it with Brian Waters last year. Nice acquisition, but he didn't make it. He got hurt. Not saying he didn't work out enough, and that's the reason he got hurt. But again, when you're dealing with older players, obviously the percentages go up for injuries. And this team is trying to get younger, so give it a chance to get younger before you bring in the cavalry, And so I think they got to see first before they try to, say, okay, we can't do it this way. We got to bring in a veteran guy.
And to your point about perhaps middle linebacker by committee, that is something that Rod Marinelli has indicated he has no fear in doing, and he made the point that the defensive line, that's pretty much how it's going to be. We're going to run guys in and out of there.
And the other thing you got to remember is there's going to be some linebackers come available during training camp, because if you go look at depth charts around the league right now, there's a lot of teams that drafted linebackers first, second round, third round, and they're going to give these guys an opportunity to win jobs. Well, if they win a job, that means some other linebacker, veteran linebacker on that team is probably going to get released. So, you know, what's the old deal that somebody scraps is my treasure, or
Mm-hmm.
something to that effect. I don't think that's quite
Another
accurate.
person's trash. One person's trash is another person's treasure.
Yeah, I
How
got
about
it.
that?
I was close. Okay. And that may be, you know, out of necessity, that trash becomes a treasure. And so we'll see what happens. I think it's an ongoing thing. But I love the question. As a matter of fact, you know, going into the draft, I had said if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me who are the Cowboys going to draft, I'd be a rich man.
Oh.
Well, now it's who's going to play middle linebacker.
Right. You wouldn't be here with me. That's one thing for certain. And Mickey brought up Brian Urlacher. That had been somebody, you know, if you Google Brian Urlacher right now, the news articles that pop up indicate that the Cowboys have some interest in the veteran linebacker. Well, on Tuesday, at that corporate golf outing, Jerry Jones indicated that Brian Urlacher is not a fit for the Dallas Cowboys. His response was a flat-out no when asked if the Cowboys were working on a deal for Urlacher.
And even if they were working on a deal, the answer would be
no,
because
true.
You're negotiating, and you don't want anybody to think they've got you over a barrel and they've got some negotiating leverage on you.
Right. So, yeah, he does not seem to be a fit. And you talk about being an older guy, having, you know, being an older guy who had been working out. It is almost impossible, Mickey, to replicate that NFL-type workout. Remember, look, he didn't play in 2013. Right. So, I mean, and he only played 12 games in 2012. So you don't want to underestimate what a guy who has his career resume, what he's able to bring to a team. But I think your example of Brian Waters is a perfect one. You're comparing that situation with him, with Brian Urlacher. You know, they've been out of football for a reason. You know, it's hard to kind of get back in the game after you've taken some time off.
And the one thing they definitely don't want to do, and probably Waters is the poster boy for this, is they don't want to go to training camp.
Right. No, and he admits it.
No, I don't want to go to training camp. No, absolutely not. So, again, then you're trying to get a guy ready to start a season, and I think you become more susceptible for injury. Now, I understand everybody, because what they look for is a name. They understand a name. It's the same thing that's probably going on right now with first name Jeremy. Is it Hill? The guy that got suspended from the Giants, the safety. Or is it Sean Hill? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, everybody recognizes the name, and it's like, okay, you know, what about the Cowboys? Well, the guy got suspended for 6 games. Right. It's the second time he got suspended for the same thing. So I understand.
Will Hill.
That's it. Yeah, sorry. And everybody recognizes the name, but recognize why he's available. And do you want that on your hands? I don't care how well he played. If he can't keep himself on the field, and this is twice in a row now, I don't know that you want to get involved in that.
No, there is a reason these guys are on the street. Okay, moving on. Now we have a question here from our friends over in the UK. From the UK Cowboys fan club. We always appreciate you joining us here on Mickey and Miller's Cowboys Hour. Hey, Mickey and Miller, what are your thoughts on the wide receivers making the roster? Could we see both Street and Washington, Devin Street and LaDainian Washington making the grade? Well, there's some news about LaDainian Washington.
Yeah, unfortunately, LaDainian last week on the Thursday practice made a diving catch, and he sprained the AC joint in his
right shoulder.
I was trying to remember if it was right or left. I'm trying to picture where it was. Anyway, he was in. It was his right shoulder. He was in a sling, and he's probably done for the rest of the off season. So what he's hoping, and he's ready to go for training camp. Good, bad thing. Obviously, when you're a rookie free agent, you want to be out there. But the good thing is that he was, and I think I mentioned it when we talked about him the first initially, he had a sprained big toe that he's been nursing since about the last month of the college season. So he played 4 or 5 games with a toe that he probably shouldn't have played with, but he played anyway. And the only thing that was going to help that toe is rest. Well, he couldn't rest because then he had to get ready for the combine. Then he had to get ready for pro workout, you know, the private workouts. And then he got here, and the trainers took a look at it and said, oh, boy, we should hold you out. And his response was, oh, please don't do that to me. Well, now he's got to rest it. And so maybe almost 2 months of rest will help that toe, and he'll be ready for training camp. The shoulder should come around with the AC joint thing. But the toe, if you can't run as a wide receiver, you're in trouble.
You don't have a
And
career.
he can't cut. He was a straight line runner. So again, that's his deal. That sort of puts him on the borderline. As for Devin Street, I like what I've seen so far. He is a rookie. I like that he understands routes. He runs them pretty precise. Got to catch the ball. And again, you got to catch the ball in traffic when you know you're going to get hit. Out here, no one's getting hit. So again, 5th round draft choice, but I like his chances to make it as one of the top 5 receivers. Somebody would have to probably play awfully well to force 6. Now, I'm counting Dwayne Harris as one of those 5.
Okay.
But the Cowboys, and remember, he's coming off of postseason surgery also. So when you hear that he didn't take part in team, that he's just doing special teams, they were holding him back also. But he's a special teams guy. So when you look at the receivers, you could keep 6 if you're saying, well, he's my guy that's returning punts, he's returning kickoffs. And not only that, he was tied for 2nd on the team in special teams tackles. So he's very valuable. So they like him in that role as a kind of a part-time as-need wide receiver, but you don't want to get him into a situation where he's the 3rd guy and he's getting 30 and 40 snaps, because then you're going to take away from his special teams production. So kind of look at it as maybe 6 wide receivers this year, if you count Dwayne Harris as one of them.
Okay, let's count who you got then making the team. Des Bryant.
I think
obviously.
I think he's got a shot.
Terrence Williams.
Yes.
Let's go on here.
Cole Beasley.
Yep.
Then you're looking at Dwayne Harris.
Yep.
So that's 4, right?
Devin
Street, and then somebody might step up. This young guy that they brought in, Bird, he's 6'4". He plays wide receiver like he's 6'4". He's done some really good things. They like what they've seen from him so far. So keep an eye on him. Also keep an eye on, I think it's, I'm trying to remember. It was one of the rookie free agents that they drafted, Cody. I'm blanking out on his name.
That's okay. I'm looking here.
But anyway, he kind of showed up early, and he may have an opportunity to be able to also force himself onto the team. Chris Boyd.
There you go.
Thank you. Took me a while.
LaRon Bird also.
LaRon Bird,
the other one you're referring to. So okay, I like this. 6 wide receivers potentially. I say it's a lock for 5. I think 6 would be tough, and I think LaDainian. I want to say LaDainian Tomlinson, LaDainian.
I know. I've done it already, even though I watched him play 3 years in college.
Exactly. LaDainian Washington. I think he's going to have a very tough time.
And I thought he was going to have a tough time in the first place. Yeah. He was a long shot, but if he could just get on the practice squad, get a little stronger, a little heavier. I think that should be his goal, and that certainly would help not only himself but also his family that he's trying to support his brothers. Because think about it, if you're on the practice squad for 17 weeks, it's $6,000 a week.
That's not bad.
So
not bad.
Coming out of college as your first job,
it's more than $100,000 a year.
That's what we make coming out of college,
right? Yeah, more like $12,000.
I saw that W-2 form recently too, and that's what it said. $12,000, and I was darn happy to have
Weren't you? I remember that. I remember those days. Small market TV. I think the time off could perhaps help LaDainian Washington. We've talked about not working out. It's impossible to replicate that NFL-style workout. Sure. But that time off, I think, will allow him to get healthy and gain that good weight that he needs to gain to be a part of the NFL. And we've seen this time and again from players who've been injured and gone through that Cowboys rehabilitation program. They come back in better shape physically in terms of, body fat to muscle ratio. Right. They come back in better shape than they were prior to the injury 99% of the time.
And let me give you an example of just what an off-season can do for these guys. Gavin Escobar has kind of reshaped his body. You can see he's got some shoulders now. And it's almost like you can tell the muscle definition in his legs, too. So just for the fact that he was working out January, February, March, April, now it's May, and just full time. And that was one of the things that he definitely needed to work on to be able to be successful. And when they've been lining up here in 2 tight ends, he's been the second tight end going out there with the first team.
Okay, I think a lot of people, a lot of Cowboys fans I know would like to see better things from Gavin Escobar in his second
And sometimes, you know, a lot of it has to do with opportunity. Now, I understand you have to earn that opportunity before you get it. But they kind of brought him along at a pace, and they realized he probably wasn't ready to block on the line of scrimmage in the NFL. But keep an eye on this guy because he catches the ball awfully well, and he's learning to run the routes a lot better. And I think Mike Pope, a veteran tight end coach in this league, will do wonders for him. Hey, Mike Pope did wonders for Martellus Bennett, by the way. With the New York Giants.
I miss Martellus. He's a fun guy.
Yes, he was. He was a little different, but you know what?
He's fun.
He finally made his money.
He was one of my good guys. I liked him a lot. Okay, you are watching Mickey and Miller's Cowboys Hour on Google+, the most interactive Cowboys discussion online. We are taking your questions via Twitter and the Google+ Hangout Q&A app right down below if you're watching. We hope you're enjoying the show. About another half hour here to go, and I want to talk about Brandon Weeden.
Is there a concert going on outside?
Let's see.
Are they playing music?
Should we just go open the door and listen? You want me to open the door? I'm going to go listen.
It just went away.
Stand by.
But
this is live
TV. It sounded like they were playing music during the practice session, and I don't know if they were trying to replicate noise for the quarterbacks, what they were doing. They do that during the regular season when they're going on the road. They'll get the big speakers out there, and they'll play some music or just noise that it's irritating to try to concentrate through when the offense is out there when they know they're on the road. So, see, this is we're so versatile on this. Yes. Did somebody just pull up a car?
You know, no, I will tell you. Remember how many years ago Wade Phillips had a DJ at practice?
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. And they've used music at practice in the past.
I was trying to explain to him.
They're playing Money. Yeah. You know that Money song? Who sings that song? I know this. I've used it in stories.
Don't rely on me for that one.
I didn't see any speakers out there, but I definitely heard it. They're playing music out there.
They
are. It's funny. I don't know. They're trying to replicate noise, or
if they were just trying to lighten up practice.
Maybe so. Yeah. They're getting them ready for Oxnard because there's definitely going to be noise in Oxnard.
Not only noise, but cat calls and a lot of criticism. Don't come down the sideline where the fans stand and drop a football because you'll hear about it.
Because it's a passionate fan base that doesn't have NFL football, and it's their fix.
Yeah,
and they will stand 6 or 7 people deep trying to get something up close and personal game action.
Yeah, they're pretty intense when they watch practice, and they know what's going on. And the thing I love about them is they will also ask questions when they see us walking the sideline. They're trying to get in position to watch the practices. They'll ask questions, and they know who's missing and who's not. And it's actually a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun for the folks in the media to interact with the fans because we don't really get that opportunity like that in a game, in a practice setting. So it's kind of neat.
I have to close the door or else I'm going to get in trouble. So excuse me. Mickey, keep talking.
So we'll let all the air conditioning out of this room, and this room is usually very, very cold. So you can tell now how close we are to the outdoor practice facility here in the Cowboys TV department that has certainly progressed over the years, and Gina certainly can vouch for this, is how we used to have a studio in a closet and basically a storage room, and now we've got this entire studio, and you guys can see the background that we use when we tape our TV shows. So yeah, that's pretty good.
It's Club Cowboys OTA out there.
Is that what
they're
it is?
Jamming,
Yeah.
they're dancing, they're throwing footballs. No, I'm kidding. No dancing. It's all football related, but I guess they're trying to lighten it, give a little ambiance to
Yeah, well, that's
Why
all right.
not?
It's June what?
June 5th.
5th.
June 5th.
D-Day tomorrow.
Yeah, it is.
70
the
years
70th
ago.
anniversary. Can I tell you, total departure. I was at Normandy last year on
Were
D-Day.
you really?
I get chills thinking about it, Mickey, honestly. There were so many veterans there. I was there for the ceremony. My husband and I took a train from Paris to Normandy.
So it's doable.
It is.
Because
it's
it's on my bucket list.
Oh, it's something you should do, without question. The photos that we took, you see the crosses there. You see the somber yet respectful tone that the entire French government, has set, and it's run by it's just a monumental experience, and you get a chance to see some of those veterans, and we lose we lose more of those veterans each and every year who experience that. It's truly, if this interests you at all, do it. It's worth it. It's an experience.
I hope I can
get chills. Sorry.
I hope I can get through this because I get real emotional. But my dad actually landed on Omaha Beach D-Day 2, so it was June 8th. So it'll be 70 years Sunday that he had landed on the beach there. And think about this. It was one thing to land there, and it wasn't the greatest military tactic ever.
Right.
Just say, okay, we're just going to have more people there than they can shoot, right? But just think if you were like 24 or 25 years old and you had been in the Army for a couple of years preparing, and you finally get a chance to go over there, and when your landing craft pulls up on the beach, basically you're met with dead bodies.
I couldn't imagine.
Floating in the water. And it's like, do you sit there and go, and I'm going to get off this boat?
Yeah.
And that's what my father faced 70 years ago on Sunday.
They do a beautiful job commemorating everything. I'm trying to pull up one of the pictures, not to get too deep into this, but I took pictures of it on my Instagram account when we were in Paris this exact time last year. It was just a phenomenal experience.
Well, this was one of the benefits of Mickey and Miller's Cowboys Hour. We can freelance and basically do what we want, and this is a pretty interesting subject, even for our friends that are listening in France and our friends in London, because I'm sure anybody that kind of listens probably has been touched somehow by this, either a relative, a father, or grandfather that was part of the invasion during 1944.
Here we go. Here is my picture from when I was there on the beaches of Normandy last year, on this 1 year ago tomorrow, on June 6th. There you go. You see right there, that's the beach in Normandy. That's the memorial. Yep. They're setting up. You see in the distance there, they're setting up. Those are a bunch of chairs they were setting up for the memorial. And right here you can see there are all the crosses, and the number of crosses is just, it's mind-boggling. And then you look at the age of these people. I mean, they were kids. They were kids. It just... That was an experience. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep here.
Yes, absolutely.
moving right along.
Check to see if I got any tweets here coming.
Earlier in the week, Mickey had the chance to talk to Brandon Weeden, a guy who, if you follow Big 12 football, you know who he is because he was the quarterback at Oklahoma State. Of course, he had that NFL career, and he was in Cleveland, right?
Yes,
for 2 years, he was in Cleveland with the Browns, and so obviously we didn't get a chance to follow him that much. But when the Cowboys signed him this offseason, he was a guy that I think piques a lot of people's interest.
No, absolutely, and he signed what caught my interest is that he signed a 2-year deal for basically minimum wage, and which means it's a free look for the Cowboys. They're not saying, well, we're investing money in him, because a lot of people, why are they signing him? He didn't succeed, and a lot of people didn't succeed in Cleveland, okay? And that's why they got a new coaching staff, new front office, basically new quarterback, everything. So anyway, they didn't invest any money in him, but it's like, in his mind, it was like, okay, this might be a false start. I got paid pretty well as a first-round draft choice of the Cleveland Browns. I've got some money, so money's not my main priority. He wants to learn the position. So
learn the quarterback position.
Learn the quarterback position. So it's like, so what attracted you here? He goes, well, there were a couple things. He goes, number one, he goes, it was an opportunity to learn from a veteran quarterback like Tony Romo, that I didn't have that opportunity when I was there in Cleveland. And it's not like he comes in here as a threat to the veterans. Tony Romo's he said Tony Romo's probably just tired of me. I'm in his ear the entire time asking questions. Number two, the head coach, and remember this, Tony Romo went from an afterthought, rookie free agent, to a Pro Bowl quarterback. Then his head coach goes from the practice squad, basically, to getting a 12, 13-year NFL career. And his quarterback coach went from East Texas Commerce to a 19-year career. So his thought was, by osmosis, I'm going to learn something from these three guys.
Right.
And he goes, and I'm not too old to learn. And he doesn't look at him as a 30-year-old quarterback. He looks at himself as a 2-year-old quarterback, meaning he's been in the league for 2 years. He can learn from these things. He goes, number two, Jason Garrett guaranteed me that I'd have an opportunity to compete. So when he came here, in his mind, even not knowing the Kyle Orton situation, not knowing what kind of shape Tony Romo was going to be in after the back surgery, it was like he wasn't coming here going, okay, I'm the third guy, I'll see if I can force him to keep three guys. It's like, I'm coming here to compete for the backup job. So his idea was, I'm coming here to compete with Kyle Orton. And then Orton doesn't show. Tony Romo's being held out right now of 11 on 11. So all of a sudden, the guy that everybody thought was just the third guy is getting all these invaluable snaps with the first team that he would not have gotten if everything was, you know, the way it was supposed to be. And so he looked at that as, okay, I've got an opportunity to compete. And then the other thing was, he said, proximity to family. He goes, that was important to me. You know, he's from Oklahoma. I think it's Edmond, Oklahoma. He went to Oklahoma State.
Edmond, Oklahoma. That's where he went to high school, Santa Fe High School.
And he said, I've still got family there. He goes, I've got family here. My wife's got family in Moore, Oklahoma. She's got family in the area here. He said, so it was just so natural to me that it was worth me coming here and kind of gambling on my career with the Dallas. And it was sitting there, and I'm just going, this is such a mature answer.
Right.
You know, it's just such a mature decision, and it wasn't all about the money. It was about opportunity and learning. And so I thought that spoke volumes for Brandon Weeden. Now, of course, you got to produce. Now, I think he throws a nice ball. He's trying to pick up the offense, and here was another thing when they asked him about having to learn another offense and being on a third offensive coordinator in 3 years. He said, well, not really, because what the Cowboys do here is very similar to what Norv Turner was doing in Cleveland. He said, so it's not a huge transition for me. And then one more. He gets to throw the ball if he gets an opportunity to play to some guy named Des Bryant that he knew about in college. And Des didn't get the chance to throw to him because I think it was Zach.
Oh, God, not Zach Martin, but yeah.
There was another quarter, and he sat behind while Des was playing, and then when Des ended up leaving or got suspended, then that's when he was the starting quarterback. I was going to say Zach Peterson, but that's not right. But anyway, so there was that familiarity with coming here. And
Zach Robinson. Yep, I knew that.
And here's a funny story also that Des told about Brandon Weeden. He goes, we both got there. He was technically a freshman. I was a freshman. And he's sitting there going.
Was the age difference?
It would have been because he had already played 19? Probably, or maybe probably 26 and 18, something like that.
That's funny.
25, whatever. He had spent 3 years at least playing baseball. Yeah. So Des saw him, and Des said, my big question was, we were both freshmen, and he goes, and this cat's driving around in a black BMW. He goes, how does he get a BMW as a freshman? And it's like, Des, you didn't get a good as deal as he did to go to Oklahoma State.
No. Come on now, Mickey. Come on. Boone Pickens did not write them.
That's right. No, absolutely not.
He wrote a check for a nice stadium. I've, in fact, been to that stadium and been to an Oklahoma State game on Boone Pickens' plane with Boone Pickens.
Oh, really?
Story.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you.
Nice.
Talk about Moses part in the Red Sea. Right. Boone Pickens part's the Oklahoma State Sea.
He walks in and everybody,
man, in Stillwater.
Well, he spent a lot of money on that program, and that I've seen the difference because I covered games there back in like 78, 79 when that thing was just a shell of what it is now, and they've come a long way.
It's a college football Taj Mahal.
As a matter of fact, the one thing, my biggest memory from that is the media parking. We're covering Oklahoma State, Missouri. The media parking was next to where the player locker room was. There was an entrance there, and the fans are all over the place. Missouri went up there and got beat. We came back, and we drove there from Columbia, Missouri back in the day. And somebody just bent up the antenna on the car. And it's like, come on, you won. What are you doing?
They're never happy.
But Stillwater was fun, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
You can have some fun in Stillwater.
Ask anybody who went to school there.
So anyway, there's a little Brandon Weeden. And again, you know, everybody wants to know how are all these guys doing? And, people can tweet, they can blog, they can write stories, but understand this. We've seen 2 hour-and-a-half, 2-hour practices. That's it. That's it. So it's really hard to form really definite evaluations on these guys on, well, how's this guy doing? How's that guy doing? We've seen 2 practices. So, take everything you hear with a little bit of a grain of salt because, and again, they're practices in helmets, jerseys, and shorts. No shoulder pads, no hitting, not supposed to bump into anybody. This might be too much contact for the NFL,
Especially after the Sean Lee injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody was worried about that. The strange thing is if Sean Lee hadn't gotten hurt, if he doesn't tear his ACL, no one thinks anything about the entire play. It just kind of goes away. So anyway, it's really hard to come to these conclusions. It's a little easier in training camp, although when you're not playing all out in tackling in training camp, it's also hard to judge some of these guys, especially running backs, because you need to see what a running back does after contact. You need to see what a linebacker does when he has to tackle. The preseason games are a better I think, judge of just where guys are at.
And you still put an asterisk by those preseason games, too. You
yes,
really do.
Absolutely.
You really do.
Because you're only playing so many snaps.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something that you said about Brandon Weeden. He mentioned that Tony Romo's probably tired of him. I doubt that's the case.
Right.
Because Tony could talk football all day and all night.
He probably encourages it,
he does.
And probably wants to bring the guy home with him and come and play with the kids and we'll talk about this certain play.
House full of kids, so just bring one more. I love it. Okay, one thing that happened this week is the NFL rolled out its logo for Super Bowl 50. And the logo in and of itself is a departure from what it's done since 1971. I'm going to show you the logo for Super Bowl 50. I, in fact, love it. I think it's clean and it's almost sexy. The gold on the black with the silver Lombardi trophy and the Super Bowl text. I think it's absolutely gorgeous.
And what's going to happen here with this logo now, they're going to localize it and because it's going to be in San Francisco.
There's the local one
and so I think you have another picture there. And it's kind of neat where that's the stadium, the 49ers' new stadium in the background. And then if you look real closely in the numerals, you can see the skyline of the city of San Francisco, some of the things that people would recognize. So I think, and I saw a logo, and somebody kind of superimposed the thought of if it was just an L. And an L just doesn't hold up. And that's why they did this. And understand it, they're not changing their idea. This is a one-time thing because now when you have 2 or 3 or however many, 4 sometimes Roman numerals up there, it kind of fills it out and looks right. The L looked naked. It looked like you were anorexic or something. An anorexic logo, if I can.
Things you never thought you'd say.
And think about it. Back in the day when they first started, the V. Well, it was wide, and then you had a V and an I, and even the X takes up space.
There's substance to it.
But the L it was almost like a straight line, and you couldn't do much with it. So I thought it was a great idea to put the Lombardi trophy between the 5 and the 0.
You look and you see right here, this is the regional logo for the San Francisco Bay Area. I love that we have to be so politically correct now because we do the same thing in Dallas-Fort Worth. It is not Dallas. It is not Fort Worth. It's North Texas or Dallas-Fort Worth. We had the North Texas organizing.
This is the Bay Area Super Bowl.
The Bay Area. But I think this is gorgeous. This is the regional version. And you see right there the Golden Gate Bridge. You see the outlines of the San Francisco and Oakland area skylines, the Bay Area skylines. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. The NFL logo, I'm going to show this to you right now. This is just so clean to me, clean and sleek. And again, the reason why the NFL went to this logo was because the L, which represents 50 in Roman numerals, just didn't work. And I'll tell you, the league has been using Roman numerals since 1971, since Super Bowl 5. This, though, is just a one-year break, according to Jamie Weston, the NFL's vice president of brand and creative, because the L, quote, isn't as pleasing to the eye. Weston's team had been working on the Super Bowl 50 logo since April 2013. Guess how many versions they went through before they came up with this final version?
10.
No. The NFL considers everything so carefully. They went through 73 3 versions before they came up with
Well, they
the
were just
final
trying to
one.
qualify their job for that long.
Right. You're probably right there. You're probably right. Yeah, they just determined
70 versions.
73,
Wow.
more than 70. Yeah, 73
Well, I
versions.
think they hit.
Yeah, I think it's a gorgeous logo, and I think it's funny that we're making such a big deal out of it.
And
It's a
for
winner.
kind of like an old guy like me, I'm big on tradition, but this is an okay departure
Isn't it?
from tradition.
It's
Yeah.
sleek, it's simple, yet it's masculine.
Very tasteful,
Yeah.
and it kept up with their idea that they came up with a couple years ago of keeping the Lombardi Trophy in the logo, and having the logo kind of centered around the Lombardi Trophy.
I think it's really sexy. Okay, we got one question in.
Yes, we do.
On Twitter, I'm going to get to this question.
See if it's the same one I have.
Oh, I got a couple here. Pull it up here for you. Here we go. This one from Mike4796. He says, "Hey Mick, I've been a boys fan since 1968. This new defense makes me think deja vu 1992. Waves of non-Pro Bowlers. You?"
Well,
Wow.
you know what? If you go back to '92, they did play in waves. It wasn't just 4 guys up front. A guy like Chad Headings, he was a backup. Leon Lett, and everybody remembers Leon Lett. Well, Leon Lett was a backup. So they had guys that they were coming off the bench. Jim Jeffcoat ended up being a backup. He was a nickel pass rusher. They had guys like Tony Tolbert starting. They brought in Charles Haley. Those were the starting defensive ends, and then they would rotate guys in the middle. Russell Maryland for his rookie year in '91, I think he didn't start until it was like 10 games in. Tony Casillas was out there, and he was in a rotation. So, yeah, he's exactly right. When they played that 4-3 defense, they rotated a lot of guys in. And I'll tell you this, I bet people can't even remember who the middle linebacker was, because I'm having trouble remembering right now. It was Smith.
Hold on. We got Google.
It was Smith. Try to remember. He'll kill me that I don't remember his first name. But the one year it was Robert Jones. They had drafted him in the first round, and he ended up being just a guy.
A jag, as Bill Parcells
he
would
was
say.
just a guy. Even in the
Dixon
secondary.
Edwards, Godfrey Miles, Vincent Smith.
Smith.
Yeah. Oh gosh, he's a blast from the past.
Right? Absolutely.
Oh, look at all these guys.
And so it wasn't
he
like
will kill
they
you
had
too.
it wasn't like they had a Pro Bowl middle linebacker. They had serviceable middle linebackers. Until they drafted Robert Jones. Jack Del Rio was the middle linebacker, and they didn't re-sign him, made Jack mad, and then the next year they went to the Super Bowl and won it because they had Robert Smith. But Vincent Smith was playing in there. So, again, the key guys were the pass rushers, the corners, and basically one of 2 outside linebackers that they relied on pressure. But from that front 4, it was a significant rotation. So, good point. See, this pays when you're a fan since '68.
See,
right?
doesn't it? That's longer than I've been alive, thank goodness. Okay, if you are going to go to Cowboys training camp in Oxnard, California, and in fact, a couple people here say they are going to Cowboys training camp. It's an awesome experience. And again, if you have some vacation time, I suggest you just book it, because it's an experience that you and your family will remember forever. And the Cowboys released their training camp schedule in Oxnard this week. I'm going to pull this up for you right now. And you'll get a chance to see when, in fact, the Cowboys take the practice fields at the Marriott Residence Inn in Oxnard, California. This is the schedule right here.
The River Ridge.
River Ridge Marriott, the original home of the Oakland Raiders. They've redone the place. It's gorgeous. It'll probably be pretty hard for you, frankly, to get a hotel room there, but there are a lot of hotels in the area. There are a bunch of Marriott properties. There are hotels in Ventura. There are hotels in Santa Barbara if you want to go more luxe. And you can also stay south of the facility.
If you go just a little bit further east, the east side of Oxnard has a lot of hotels at reasonable prices.
Oh, yeah.
Camarillo's not that far away, so it's a very doable thing. And as I always tell people, if you go, don't be afraid to say hi. And I've had people walking down that sideline. They go, "Hey, you said to say hi."
I like that. They're keeping you honest.
So they were keeping me honest. So it's like, yeah, hi. I said to say it. But as Gina said, the Cowboys are going to depart Valley Ranch here on July 22nd. Fortunately, we get to fly into Point Mugu, the Naval Air Station. That's about 20-minute drive away. Otherwise, you have to go to LAX, and that's just a beating having to take a bus from there. So 23rd will be the conditioning test. The first practice will be July 24th. It's a Thursday, and the majority of the Cowboys' full practices will be at 4 o'clock.
Padded practices.
Padded practice, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a late afternoon practice. The morning practice, when they go 2-a-days, is a walkthrough, basically, no pads, and they hadn't been, I don't know if they're going to change it, but they usually don't allow the fans in to watch that. So the padded practice only at 4 o'clock. And a couple key dates is the blue-white scrimmage will be the second weekend. They're there. It'll be at 3:30 Pacific time on August 3rd. So, or actually, it's Sunday, August 3rd. So the second weekend they're there. They'll have the blue-white scrimmage. And normally what they do with the blue-white scrimmage, it's an exercise for a lot of the new guys, the young guys, to get a kind of a look on them. And at the end of that, they'll have the young guys, and they'll actually scrimmage for a series or two, tackle, put guys on the ground. Also, the first break in camp will be when they travel to San Diego. The first preseason game is a Thursday preseason game, August 7th. People know that. The Cowboys will leave on the 6th. I believe it'll be a train ride again.
Yeah, once
down the coast.
Do you like that?
It's kind of cool to do something different. It takes up a lot of time because
it's lengthy.
We don't the Cowboys. It's a special train that they put on for them, so they don't have priority access to the tracks. So you have to pull over and wait for the normal traffic on that train. But it's kind of a neat ride, especially when you get south of LA and you go through some of those coastal towns. You see the beach.
Beautiful.
It's just gorgeous. So they'll play that. They'll come back. They'll have the next day off and then practice that weekend. So that weekend after the game, so they play on a Thursday. Friday will be a day off. They'll actually practice Saturday and Sunday. So they'll be practicing 3 weekends, which wasn't the case last time we were there because it seemed like we were going to games and there was an off day on the weekend. So they'll actually have 3 weekends worth of practice. If you're looking for time to go, they'll practice that next week, and then they come back here, break camp August 15th because they have to play the second preseason game back here at AT&T Stadium. Normally the Cowboys play the first 2 on the road, the second 2 at home. Well, this year, because of the One Direction concert, the next weekend they have to play the home game the second weekend. So when they come back to play that game, training camp's going to be cut short, probably about 3 or 4 days from Oxnard. So they'll come back here, they'll stay, they'll play that game, go to Miami. And so when they get back here, Gina, they're going to have to practice outdoors, and I would imagine the practices will be at 8 o'clock in the morning to get away from the heat because the stadium will be set up for the concert already.
So a couple things you need to know if you plan on going to camp in Oxnard. The driving directions, you can get all of that. This is kind of what you need to know because I'm not going to lie, parking can be a bit of a bear if you're not prepared for that situation. You can park at the hotel. The parking lot's open pretty early in the day, around 11 a.m., and there's stuff for you to do. I mean, there's Rowdy there, there's the Cowboys Experience there. There's a lot going on at Cowboys Training Camp in Oxnard. Here's the thing. If you're a True Blue Fan Club member, you can get to go into practice about 30 minutes prior to when non-True Blue Fan Club members get.
Even if you're a True Blue fan.
Exactly, exactly. You got to be a fan club member. Now, there's no guarantee of seating, and this is all kind of on this first-come, first-served basis. Parking. Parking at the River Ridge playing field is $10 a vehicle, $20 for an oversized vehicle. If you're staying at the hotel, you can get a free parking pass. You have to let the front desk know that you're attending camp when you check in. You get 1 parking pass provided for each day of your stay. Again, I would suggest, if you're going to go there, look into the hotels now, because that hotel tends to get pretty full because a lot of members of the Cowboys traveling media, Cowboys family members, as well as, of course, the Cowboys players, staff, coaching staff, and employees, they're all already there as well. So it's a high traffic area. You probably can't get a hotel room. The price is pretty high for hotel rooms at that hotel during this time. But there, like Mickey said, plenty of hotels in the area, lots of opportunities for you to get in and watch Cowboys practice.
And this isn't a paid political, or not political, endorsement, but my favorite hotel out there in the area for training camp, I always tell people, if you're going to go, stay at the Marriott in Ventura.
Oh, yes.
It's like you walk out the door, go a half a block around the back of the hotel, and you're on the beach.
Yeah, we did that last year.
Yeah.
It was outstanding.
There's a boardwalk that goes all the way to downtown Ventura, or where the state fair takes place. It's a great hotel, and the location is absolutely wonderful. As for the parking, just know that there's enough parking for everybody there. That's a big field.
Yeah.
It's huge. And by the way, people start lining up there an hour, at least an hour and a half before practice, so they can get in and get a choice spot to stand and watch practice. I remember when they used to have two-a-days and they'd practice in the morning for real. I think the practice would start at 9:30, and I'd be up early and I'd do my workout before I had to do my first radio show, and I'd be running back to the facility, and all these people would be already lined up, ready to go, and it's like, gosh, am I late? And it's like, no, they're early, but it's accessible. Getting in is free. They don't charge to watch the practices, and my understanding this year is the area outside where there's stuff to do behind where the practice goes on is going to be upgraded. They're going to have even more stuff there to do. Good. So what they tried to do before was have something to do between practices, but since they don't let the people in for the first practice, mostly people start showing up around 2 in the afternoon. They're the Cowboys, obviously, they have their souvenir truck, merchandise truck. They also have their Hall of Fame truck there, so there is some stuff and some interactive stuff to do, and there may be even more this year than there has been.
I can echo Mickey's sentiments about that Marriott in Ventura. Right there on the beach. It's literally a 2-minute walk to the beach. You can get on your rollerblades, get a bike, take a walk.
Right.
We even took our dog there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's great. It's great. And you'll see all the beach bums around Ventura, and if you wear your Cowboys gear, people always say something to you. I mean,
and just make sure when you call and make your reservation, tell them it's SPAG, okay?
I love it. I love it. Okay, we are just about done here. These hours fly by so quickly, don't they?
Well, there's so much to talk about, and what you're trying to do is fit in, a week's worth of information into 1 hour.
Yeah, and monitoring everything.
And take care of D-Day and, where to stay at training
your
camp
travel
too,
plans.
Right?
Hey, coming up, we're going to have where to eat.
Yeah, right? And we can do that.
We can do that.
Yes.
And where to drink.
Right.
We can do that, too.
Little preview of that, The Habit. It's a great hamburger
place.
That
is a good spot. Yeah. And The Habit, and there used to be that Baja Fresh. Is Baja Fresh still there? It's still there.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. The Habit and Baja Fresh.
So what we'll do is maybe the week before we leave for training camp, we'll give you a training camp primer on what to do, where to go. We don't talk football. Maybe we'll do an extra show and just kind of give you guys an idea if you're going to camp, where to hang out. And again, all this stuff's good, but depending on when you do it, an hour drive, the Dodgers are playing baseball.
Yes, they are, and you may see some Cowboys fans there, and you'll probably see me at a few Dodgers games. I can guarantee you that. Okay, you can always keep in touch with us throughout the week on any social media platform available. Mickey's always tweeting.
At Ags.
At Ags. No, not Ags.
Stags52.
I am at That Sports Girl. I'm available on Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram. Holler at your girl at any time.
My social woman here.
Your social media woman. Let us know when you'd like to see Mickey and Miller's Cowboys Hour. We've experimented with a few times. It seems like this 11 a.m. slot works pretty well.
I think it does, because some people are either at lunch, depending on where they live, getting ready for lunch, or it's early in the morning and they're not working hard on the West Coast, right?
Hey, we have no problem with that whatsoever. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll look forward to catching up with you next week. In the meantime, keep in touch with us. We're always available. So until next time, have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Mickey and Miller's Cowboys Hour. I thought you were going to say something.
Nope, I'm
Nope.
good.
Okay, bye.